guys, this is the Eventful Podcast. This is Tegan and I am Thea. Today we are doing a really interesting episode where we're going to be speaking to a dating expert. He is the self-proclaimed Hitch. He knows all these different questions, and I thought it'd be quite interesting because last time we spoke to a female dating expert and it'd be interesting to get a man's perspective. His name is Kit. Kit, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kit. I'm known as London's Hitch. I'm a dating coach and dating mentor. I've been coaching for over 4 years now, and I've reached over 30 million views online. I've been featured on BBC. I've had high-profile guests on my own dating podcast, and yeah, I'm your PT for love to help you find and attract the kind of person and relationship you want. So thanks for having me.
Amazing.
That was better than our intro. Hi, I'm Thea, and
Today we're going to literally just, some of you have written in and asked us questions, so we are going to go through just the general questions that you just want answered. So
we're here to help you with Stick, Rick, Kit.
You know what, Thea? I thought we could be friends, but now we can't. Now it's done.
We could be best friends. Don't you worry about that.
Okay, so I think this is one that was written in. So what the first question we've got is around what are the green and red flags to look for in a man's behaviour on a date?
So on a date?
Or while dating.
Say you're the first date, what would you say is typical red flag showing someone's not looking to commit, or certain traits or things that they do which could be something to look out for, or green flags which show that they are actually looking for something?
Okay, cool. So the first green flag I would say, and this is a really good question as a woman you can ask, is what do you want your life to look like in the next 3 to 5 years? Right. So instead of saying oh, are you looking for commitment? Are you looking for marriage? Are you looking for that? When you ask, oh, what would he like his life to look like? Often guys will tend to lead with their profession. So I expect to be in this position. I want to do this, and see if he says anything about having a family. See if he says anything about having a partner. And if he doesn't, if he leads with his career, which guys tend to do because, a lot of the time guys feel that, well, if I demonstrate competency in my career, that's going to show me as an attractive man. Then you can ask him, okay, and do you see yourself doing that with someone? And his answer to that is going to really help you gauge what his intention is in terms of whether he's he's in a place where he's thinking about having someone long-term or whether he isn't. Does that make sense?
That's a good point.
That makes sense. And then what other sort of red flags is good to look out for?
So I would really say this really depends on the kind of guy you're looking for. But if you're talking about red flags in terms of whether he's actually open to a relationship, then ask him. One thing I would ask is when was your last relationship? Because if he's just come out of something fresh, not that people can't get into something quite quickly, but usually people don't rush, especially guys, right? Guys generally don't rush into relationships that way. But if you ask him what kind of person do you like to connect with? And if he expresses qualities that if he says things like, oh, there's someone who's likes to have fun, who's way more chilled, doesn't take anything too seriously and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. Those are great qualities to have. But if he leads with that and he doesn't express any qualities like, oh, someone who's intentional, someone who I can have a great conversation with, someone that I can just sit and read a book with. If he doesn't express anything that is typical of what a relationship is, then he just might not be in that space where he's looking for that. Does that make sense?
What if someone's never had a relationship? Do you think that's a red flag? Because for me, I could be wrong here. I'm presuming they're not looking to settle down. Because I'm have you not met one person that you've been willing to commit to yet? Or am I just overthinking that? Because I've had a few. I haven't met the right person. Yappa. You've met too many of the right person. That's the problem.
Well, so here's the thing. Here's just what I would say, right? For guys who are what we would call desirable, right? So good looking, successful, attractive, generally speaking, he's not going to commit to one woman until he's ready to settle down, because there's no incentive for him to do that. We live in a day and age where, people will be dating multiple people might be sleeping with multiple people. And unless he's got to a point where he's either ready to choose one person or he's ready to settle down, then he's less likely to just commit everything to one person. Not impossible, just less likely to. If someone has never had a relationship, I would definitely say that's a red flag, because then how do you know if this person knows how to? And has this person never had a relationship because it's never been on the table, or is it because they've never chosen it but it's been available to them? So it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but I definitely would say something to be conscious of, because anyone who's been in a relationship for longer than a year and a half, there are things that you can only learn within a relationship. Do you know what I mean? And some people, aren't good at having them. Some people are.
Yeah, because I was speaking to someone yesterday. I was having a little riz on the phone, like having a little chat.
Yeah.
And he was, I was like trying my game and trying to get out there. And then he was saying that he's never had a relationship, but he was like, oh, but if I had a girl, I'd do this, 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 and this. I'm like, but it's the way that he was saying it. He was like, I know that when I like someone, I don't even look at someone else. I'm like, but how would you know? Because you haven't experienced that yet. So how would you know that you'd act that way? It just felt, I'm not going to lie, love bombing.
Love mommy. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Sorry.
No, yeah. No, I completely hear you. Yeah, like I said, a relationship, you have to choose the person. And one thing that our culture has forgotten is that the reason, if you're going to have like a long-term relationship, like a life partner, especially if you're going to get married, you have to know how to choose the person, even on the days that you don't feel like it. If you're only ever used to...
All right, Shakespeare.
It's true, though. It's true. Because like you're going to have ups and downs. There are going to be times where you always love each other, but you may not like each other. And that's okay. That's with every relationship. You have that with your parents, you have that with your friends, right? But when you commit to a relationship, like you're making a promise to each other. And that's choosing each other it's easy to choose someone where everything's great.
Why is this so scary though? Does hearing this scare you? I'm like, no.
Why does that scare you? Do you not know how to choose someone?
That's just that even when you were saying earlier to ask someone, sorry, so popular, ask someone what their goals would be or whatever. I never ask people like long-term questions like that. I
was going to say that's a really good point. I find it uncomfortable to ask on a first date. I feel like, especially say if
you don't want to seem too keen. Like, what are you look? I never ask someone what they're looking for off the bat.
I feel like, say someone messages you on Instagram and you meet up, then it feels less like structured or planned. So I would find it odd to kind of assume or ask those questions.
Yeah, but it's not about asking, oh, what are you looking for? It's what do you see for yourself within the next couple of years?
Yeah.
That's very different.
That is true.
But you're giving them the opportunity to offer information that you're looking for.
See, I'm definitely asking the wrong questions. So I'm like, where'd you go on holiday? What's your favorite food?
But you're finding out about them.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If they say Ibiza, I sack them off.
Yeah. Because I guess you've got things like dating apps like Hinge that have on there, like, you're looking for a short-term relationship, long-term. But I think we've said this before. I don't know if that's truthful, what some people put on there.
100%.
Also, if I'm going to be real with you, every guy just assumes that a girl's looking for a relationship. That's why you're dating.
Actually, the tables
are like why? Like, because as a woman, like you have so much sexual abundance. Like you both know guys that for sure, if you really wanted to, if you text them saying, hey, do you want to come over tonight? They would come. So in terms of looking for something casual, what, you don't have one there? I don't believe you.
No, I don't.
So in terms of looking for something casual, as a woman, you don't need to go on dates to look for something casual.
Yeah, there's accessibility everywhere.
Right. Guys know that. So like guys just assume that like when you ask, oh, what you're looking for, he's like, well, I already know you're looking for a relationship. That's why you're here. Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
That's so interesting.
And then they try and coerce you. They do. Coerce you into wanting less. Sorry.
It depends. Maybe you've not gone on a date with someone that wants a relationship.
I just don't date.
Yeah, as I said, I don't think you go on dates.
Imagine me, date, fun.
But on the point we were mentioning around love bombing, what do you feel, or do you know if, because I feel like this is a new thing, and do you think
it's always been done?
Do men do it? Do women do it? Do both do it? Kind of, what's your views on
do you reckon people who love bomb know they're love bombing? Because sometimes I feel like I love bomb.
You don't know you do it.
But I don't know I'm doing it. I'll feed the world. And then, sorry, I'm making myself seem so bad. You talk. Yes.
No, girl, when you say love bomb, as in you say it, but you don't know you're saying it, or like you genuinely think it at the time, but actually you didn't?
Yeah.
So I'll flirt, and I'll like be enjoying the flirt so much. I might
But do you say things like, you know, oh, I can't wait to see you again, or like, I can imagine a future with you, let's go on
Not
holiday
a
in 3
future.
months?
I'll be like looking forward to seeing you when maybe I'm not, or I
That's
don't know,
a good thing to say. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
intimacy that I'll feel, and then it just won't.
There's that. That's not love bombing though. You're just saying, hey, like I'm looking forward to seeing you. That's really nice. That's gonna make the person feel good, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, that's amazing.
What would your examples of love bombing be?
When someone says I love you.
Quite
I've
literally,
had that.
love
Oh my
bombing.
god, yeah, I've had that. That's
Like people are like, oh my gosh, like I love you. Like so.
meet their family the first date. I went on a date, and they brought their family to the first date.
That's
I'm
intense.
not joking you. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, so I've had it a few times where I've been on like a few dates with a girl, and she'll be like, oh my gosh, like you're my person, like we're meant for each other and everything, like I love you. And I'm like, you don't know me.
But maybe you're so amazing.
No, do you know what I think it is? And this happens a lot. What happens is people fall in love with the idea of who the person is.
Yeah, that's true. People love
So
love.
like they'll see the person and be like, oh, this is what they're doing, this is the position they're in life, this is how they look, whatever. They're like, wow, like everything on paper I love, so I love the person. But it's like, actually,
yeah, loving the idea that
you don't actually know who I am, so how can you love me?
I don't know, maybe if I kind of thought girls don't love bomb as much as guys because they want to,
I think
the whole thing
idealize
is
people more.
yeah.
So I would say girls don't tend to say I love you, but
Mm.
they'll definitely be like, I know that they'll be like, can we establish this relationship as soon as possible?
Fine, okay.
And it's like, you don't know who I am yet. And guys will tend to say, oh, I love you because, well, men fall in love with their eyes and women fall in love with their ears, right? That's why women wear makeup and men tell lies.
Yeah.
True. I accidentally said it on a first date once, but it was a really weird situation. We were like away filming a show, and then we'd like lived together already for a week, and then we finally got sent on a date, and we'd had a few champagnes, and I'm so used to saying it to my ex that like I kissed him and it just came out, and I was like, I love you, and it got really awkward. And then he was like, and I was like, oh.
Just blame it on the alcohol. Just be like,
I'm sorry. Tell me one thing. If you're on a boat, sun setting, you've had a few champagnes, and you've been living with that person a week.
Yeah.
It came out.
Yeah.
So you want to say I love this moment.
Yeah, I love the moment. I like the sky.
Yeah.
I definitely like the champagne.
To be fair, I think because you say it to friends and stuff.
I say it to my friends all the time.
Yeah.
Were you on like a dating show, Thea?
Yeah.
What were you on?
I did Are You the One, which was like a matchmaking experiment.
Yeah, I've got a friend on there now actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. The irony that she doesn't go on many dates yet goes on dating shows.
No, that's the thing. I find it less scary doing something like that than going. I find dating very intimidating.
Interesting.
Beyond intimidating, like I will get too nervous to go.
Wow. Why?
I just think it's such a big commitment, and I don't know why.
It's not a commitment.
I feel like it is a commit. I'm committing my time.
Fair.
And like I just feel like and I don't know how you're going to be, and I don't know if I'm going to be interested. And then if I'm not interested, I've wasted my whole evening.
So for some reason, there's an inner belief that you have that creates anxiety on going on a date.
Yeah.
Honestly, I never go. I'll always say, "Oh, Tegan, I might have a date," and I just never go. Do I?
Yeah.
Can't do it.
She gets fearful of plans.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to have one on Sunday, and already I'm like, I've done too much digging, and I'm not sure if I want to go. He's 21. I can't, like, the last person I dated was 21. He's 20. I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like, the young one's not for me. I feel a bit weird. Yeah. Anyway, why am I oversharing? Can you ask questions?
I was going to ask another thing that actually I think it came up a lot on our last podcast was around the like asking for dates, paying on dates, that kind of thing. So women asking a guy on a date, what's your views on that? What's your views that guys' opinions on women asking for dates, paying for dates, or splitting?
Yeah, sure. So guys would love it if girls would ask them on dates. The reason guys ask women is because women don't ask guys. That's what guys ask. Like, there's nothing wrong with a woman asking a guy on a date.
Do you not think it sets off an imbalance though?
Like, I think some people may feel emasculated. Do you think or no?
An imbalance of what?
So kind of like the point you were saying around like women just want relationship. I don't know. I think maybe it's, in my view, it's like traditionally a man would court a girl.
Mhm.
So then if a girl was to then say that they're interested straight off the bat, that kind of sets an imbalance.
Well, why would it be an imbalance if he's interested as well?
This is a good point. I don't know. I don't know if
I
I
feel
would
like-
ask a guy on a date.
I don't know what it is. I feel like then the chase is over for a guy, and they're not going to be as interested.
Yeah, that's true.
No, if a guy is actually interested in who you are, just because you initiated, that's not going to make him less interested. If anything, it helps him go, oh, I don't have to figure out if she likes me. I know she likes me.
Not how it actually is.
I know. I think the main reason most women don't ask guys out is because women don't want to be rejected. Like, people don't like being rejected, right? But guys know that she's not going to do it. So if it's going to happen, I have to make it happen.
Interesting.
It depends. I don't know, because I'd be more attracted to someone that I would guess I would class as an alpha, who would have the confidence to ask. I think I would more want someone to take typically what you'd call like a man's role and ask.
Yeah, of course, you want a guy who's got that masculine leadership in him. Yeah, of course. But like you asked what would guys feel about that way? About if a woman asked her out? Guys wouldn't think anything of it. They'd be like, "Oh, cool." Like, I haven't been officially like approached where like a woman does it. Maybe only like 5 times in my life where she made the approach, not me. And that didn't make me go, "Oh, like she's desperate." That made me go, "Oh, like I actually rate that," because no other woman does that. And then a couple, like something came from it, and then a few, like I just wasn't personally just for my vibe.
And if say you were speaking to someone and then they initiated and said, "Do you want to go on a date?" You wouldn't feel less attracted to that person?
No, I wouldn't feel less attracted. But then, if I'm being honest, I am that kind of guy that I'd be like, I'm like, hey, we're gonna do this next weekend. So I usually do initiate and plan the date in that sense. But that's just the kind of position I've always taken. But obviously nowadays, like, you know, we live in a culture that there's a narrative a lot of men experience that to be masculine is to be wrong and to be toxic.
Yeah.
And so now the standard of behavior is the feminine behavior. But then the irony is that most women don't want a man who's feminine.
Yeah.
You don't want a man who's going to look to you to make the plan, look to you to lead, look for you to provide the frame for your relationship. So a lot of guys are confused because they're adapting themselves to be more feminine, which they've been told is the more acceptable way. But that's actually not getting them the women or dates that they want, because as you both said, you want a guy who's going to take lead.
Yeah. Would you say less men ask women out on dates less then? Because of that?
Less?
Yeah.
Compared to like what, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, before, like you said, this whole view that you should be more feminine.
Yeah, I'd definitely say guys definitely initiate less, and there's multiple reasons for that. So one is like the whole thing of we live in a culture that tells men that the only acceptable way is to be more feminine. The other thing, and while this is very important for the awareness for women of men who abuse their power, with the #MeToo movement, it's very important that awareness was there for women, but there's been such an overcorrection that just the good guy who's looking for a great person is absolutely terrified of coming across the wrong way.
Yeah.
And the issue is, like, what men have witnessed is that you can have 2 guys do the exact same approach, but one is received really well and one is considered harassment. And the only difference between those 2 guys is that one guy she found attractive and the other guy she didn't.
That's such a good point.
And so for guys, it's like, well, I don't know if you find me attractive unless I shoot my shot. But if I get it wrong and you don't, that's the case.
Yeah.
So then guys, like, they're not going to do it anymore. They just stick to dating apps.
No way. So what would you say women can do to make it easier for men to approach?
Of course. So there's something that with the women I work with, there's something I call, you have to send him choosing signals. So if you're an attractive woman and you walk into a bar, right, you're both attractive ladies, 80% of the guys in that bar want to approach you. But 79% feel they don't have the permission to. So what you want to do is you want to give him the permission to approach you. So for example, let's say you guys are out with your girls, right? And let's say, a guy walks in, you're like, oh, I like the look of him. You need to initiate a level of indirect contact. So you want to make eye contact with him, smile at him, and I even say wave if you have the courage to. Because what you're doing...
I'm so socially awkward. Imagine me. I can't.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be
Because I've got no pull. Like, I just don't even know what I'm doing.
No, but I see what you mean, though. You can literally just look
I
at
think a
someone.
smile. I think a smile. Eye contact's a huge thing. I do that.
So if you're at a bar, I'm going to give you the play-by-play, and you can use this, right? This is what the women I work with use, and it works. You see a guy from across the room. First thing you want to do is you want to know if he finds you attractive, right? Because you don't want to open yourself up if he's not interested in you. So what you want to do is you want to walk through his peripheral vision to see if he looks at you. Now, chances...
How do you recover from that? No.
Say again.
I said, what people all over? Because I'm very likely to do that.
That's all right. Don't worry. If he thinks you're cute, he'll find it funny. He'll think it's cute. So you walk through his peripheral vision, right? Now, generally speaking, women generally are more adept at picking up subtle cues. So you guys can tell when a guy's looking at you, right? Most of the time, you can tell if he's eyeing up. If you can't tell, then ask one of your friends to watch him as you walk past. See if he looks at you. If he watches you walk past, you know he's attracted to you. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then you, right?
But people, I feel like I look at people all the time. Doesn't mean I'm a starer. So I might look at people. I am, but it might not be people I'm attracted to. I'm just looking. So I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's fine.
It could actually be a negative one. You could be looking going, what the fuck is the person doing? No.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So you've established that he finds you attractive because he's checked you out, right? Then when you come back to your girl group or whatever, right? This is when you want to make the eye contact, right? And don't just make contact and look away. You actually need to you don't have to be a creep about it. You don't have to be a creep about it. But actually like engage him, like look at him and be like, I see you and he sees you. Right? And smile at him. Don't just look at him with a deadpan face, because he might just think, oh, she just caught my eye. And God forbid, he's like, oh, like she's just looking my way. She's not actually interested. So look at him and actually like maintain a level of eye contact, smile. And the reason I say just wave, because you're just waving to another human being. You're like, oh, hi. Like you're friendly, you're open, you're engaging. The feminine is open. Okay. So once you've done that, right now he's clocked you. And you've clocked him. Now, if you're in a group of girls, expecting a guy to approach you when you're with your girlfriends, to him, you are just like a pack of wolves. He's not going to do it.
I heard that it's actually like the hardest thing for a guy. One of my guy friends was saying the hardest thing is, even if you see that the girls look at you, sometimes it's really difficult because they're saying if a girl was approached a guy, most of the guy friends will be friendly, whereas the other way around, girls won't necessarily be friendly. If anything, they'll probably have their guard up more. I'm sorry,
I'll be honest. Guys have this experience where even if the girl is interested, one of her friends can block the entire situation, and then it doesn't happen. So not only is he doesn't know if one of your friends is going to try and sabotage, because maybe she's like, no, I want this to be a girls' night, which is fine. But then he doesn't know if that's going to happen, right? And plus, just approaching a group of women to speak to one, that's incredibly intimidating. Like, women wouldn't approach a bunch of guys to speak to one.
Yeah.
So what you want to do then is you want to separate yourself from the group. So this is where, you can walk to the other side of the bar where you can order a drink and you're by yourself. And you give him the opportunity to come and say hi to you, right? So if you've established that he's attracted to you, you've made that eye contact, you sent those choosing signals, right? So you're giving him the avenue to approach, and then you give him the space to do it. If he's a masculine man who likes to go after what he wants, he's going to come and say hi to you. This is why most girls tend to find themselves being approached when they go to the toilet. When they walk to the toilet, that's when they get approached, right? Because that's the only time that they're by themselves away from their group.
Interesting.
So this is how you get a guy to approach you. But nowadays, as a woman, like just being attractive, a guy's not going to approach you for that. You need to be able to send those choosing signals, because one, guys are more conscious of being creeps, right?
Yeah.
They just want to approach a girl she doesn't want to be, right? And also, he's not just going to approach any attractive girl, because like there are a bunch of attractive girls. So how does he know who's the right one for him?
Yeah.
You send those choosing signals that is inviting him to approach you, right? Because that's what the feminine is. The feminine does. The feminine invites the masculine pursuit. So have you ever heard of like a drop in the handkerchief?
Yes, yeah, I've heard of that one. So is it Matthew Hussey was talking about it, that it's happened for ages, that women used to drop the handkerchief, and actually that was them being like, you can approach me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's touched this before. So, a bunch of, handmaids will be in establishment. Gentleman walks in, one of them goes, "Oh, I like the look of him." She drops the handkerchief as he walks past. And because he's a gentleman, of course, he picks it up. It's like, "Oh, did you drop this?" And she's like, "Yes, I did. Oh, clumsy me." And then their love story starts, right?
Yeah.
He invited him to pursue her. So it's about, what does dropping the handkerchief look like in today's world, in the environments that you're in? And that's how you get a guy to approach you.
Yeah, because I was also told that there's like a lot of guys that do approach girls in those situations. I was saying, say you're with a group of girls and a guy approaches you, they've had a lot of practice at doing that, and maybe that's more of like a personality thing. Whereas there'll be so many guys that are great that just would never put themselves in that situation.
Yeah. So if you don't invite guys to approach you, right? The only guys that will approach you are the guys that approach every girl.
Yeah.
And then how does make you feel special, does it?
Yeah, it's a very good point.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, so I know we've kind of briefly spoken about that in terms of like a girl asking a guy on a date. What's your views now in terms of like a big thing that like girls have spoken about and we had written in is around like the payment of a date. So back in the day, there's the view that, men would typically invite a girl out, pay, but what's the signals mean nowadays? Because a lot of girls will discuss and go, right, maybe if they split the date, does that mean that they don't like me? That kind of thing. So yeah, what's your views on paying for dates?
Sure. So one thing I would say is that times have changed. The days that men would automatically be expected to pay was in the day and age where women didn't have the same rights as earning potential as men. Now women are actually out earning men, right? Women under the age of 30 out earn their single male counterparts. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not saying that a man can't be a gentleman, but as a woman, if you go on the date, you shouldn't have the expectation for him to pay, but you should hope that he does. So one thing I would say is that always offer to pay your share.
Yeah, I think expect it. Yeah.
And if he goes, no, I got this, right? Then say, "Oh, thank you very much," and show gratitude for it, because he doesn't have to pay for you. Yeah. Right. Now, if you offer and he ends up splitting, that doesn't necessarily mean a guy doesn't like you. It just means, because remember, our generation, we've grown up in a day and age of equality. So guys go, "Well, why should I have to pay if we're equal?" Does that make sense? That's the mentality a lot of young men have. So you splitting isn't him going, "I don't like you." It's because we're both equal, right?
I would actually think that they're not interested in like another date if it was split.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like it's more a product. He's a product of his generation where he sees men and women are equal. But the truth is, in romantic relationships, you are equal value, but you are not the same. No relationship is equal. It's not.
Interesting. And what do you mean by that in terms of like male and female relationships?
Well, we bring different strength. We bring different strengths to the table. One part of man and woman, but also down to who we are as people and individuals, right? So, for example, if you and I are together, right, the likelihood is I'm going to be responsible for our safety. So if something happens, I'm not going to ask you to jump in the fight with me. I'm going to take care of that.
Get involved.
Right? Yeah, that's not equal.
Yeah.
Even if you want to have kids, you carry the baby.
Yeah.
That's not equal. Relationships are not equal.
Yeah. So.
And when you try and make it as equal as possible, that's when they fail. Because and that's not saying every relationship is different. So you can have different roles that you want to play in the relationship together, right? And that's for you to establish. But to try and say that everything is equal it's just impossible. It's not.
Yeah, so true. And then with that, so say you've gone on the date, what's your views on girls texting first? I think the thing I'm trying to hint at is there is an issue with dating where you may find someone attractive. I don't know if it's to do with nowadays because things seem so readily available because of dating apps. You'll find someone attractive, but if they show too much interest, it may actually give you the ick. So it's like, what's the right approach? What are guys' views on things like girls messaging first, girls after a date? Do you think that it's just dependent on the person?
I would say it's not that you shouldn't be generous with your energy to the person, but it's about having a standard for your generosity. So for example, it's not saying that, for example, that you shouldn't want to be physical with a guy that you're dating, but maybe the standard of you being physical is that you both are exclusive. So it's not saying like, oh no, I'm not going to be physical with him at all, because if I'm physical with him within the first 3 months, he's going to think I'm a hussy or whatever. It's okay, like I want to be with that, but there's a standard for the generosity that I want to bring to you. So if you want to message a guy, I'd say initially, in the beginning, if you know that you're the kind of woman that you want a masculine man of leadership, then generally speaking, initially, especially like for the first date and all of that stuff, he's probably going to lead on that if that's the type of man he is, right? And there's ways to invite a man to ask you out. So I had a call with a client this morning, and she was showing me a conversation on her DMs on Hinge, and she was saying like, oh, like I always just end up being like a pen pal to guys, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't like amount to anything. And we were going through it, and it was like, there's opportunities where you can invite him to ask you out. So like, for example, I think one of the conversations was something like, she was like, how's, they were talking about each other's weeks, and he was like, oh, like, how about you? What's your week looking like? And she just said, oh, I've got this on this week, and it's very busy, right? That was an opportunity for her to invite him to ask her out. So let's say he was like, oh, what are you up to this weekend? Instead of being like, oh, I've got all this on, you could be like, oh, I've got, I'm doing this on Saturday, but what did you have in mind? Like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Let me bring something to the table. Let me plan something, right? Instead of just being a pen pal.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that I think a lot of women takes a very passive approach. They think they just have to stay there and wait for the guy to come. But women of age have never done that.
Yeah.
It's about knowing how to invite him, right?
Okay. And then, so is that with guys, for example, like you're saying, if you're in a dating app, is that kind of guys' views as they're waiting to be invited to ask on a date a lot of the time, or does it depend?
No, I wouldn't say that guys are like waiting to be invited to do it, but I'm saying like as a woman, you have more power and agency than you realize.
Yeah.
You don't have to just be like the waiting damsel who's just going to wait for the prince to come.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what a lot of people we had feedback from, that they just spend too much time on these dating apps and just don't get a date from it.
Yeah, so you could be like, hey, look, like I'm really enjoying this conversation, but I think we should continue this in person, don't you? He's like, no, yeah, you're right. What are you up to next Thursday? Done. Like, because here's the thing. Some guys think, oh, they have to talk to a girl for 3 weeks before she's comfortable being asked out. Some guys are like, hey, I'm just going to say, let's meet up, right? Because guys are trying to figure out.
Yeah.
So if you just show him, if you're like, this is what I like, you go, you can invite me to do this because I'm open to it.
Interesting. And do you think it's a red flag if a guy only wants to do like drinks dates?
No, why would that be a red flag?
So just from our experiences, so I've had an experience where I've been asked many times to go on a drinks date, and I've said I don't want to drink alcohol, and they've been asking, well, you sure, just have one drink? I don't want to drink of my own, I think you should have a drink. And to me, I'm like, I find that's why I quite like doing more wholesome activity kind of dates, because I feel like that perhaps is looking more towards more of a longer term thing, or as opposed to a hookup type situation, which is what is the impression I get from a lot of drink style dates.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong with a drinks date, but you can go on a drinks date and not drink alcohol.
Yeah, but then that's
if he's like insisting, be like, hey, drink, that's when I'd be like, why do I need to drink?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're here to just initially get to know each other, right? You don't need alcohol to do that. And if you do, that's a coping mechanism, which means there's some work to be done.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then what's your views as well? So we were talking about like intimacies with dating.
Mhm.
So when you have sex in a during dating, if it's within the first 5-date rule, that I don't know if you've heard of that, but a lot of women try and wait 5 dates.
Yeah.
Do you think it impacts what a guy thinks of you?
When you sleep with him,
Sleep with them, yeah.
I would say if you sleep with them on the first time that you meet them, yes, it does.
Interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Now I know people have like this 5-date rule, this 5-week rule. I don't think any of that is helpful. The reason I don't think that's helpful is because let's say you have 5 dates and let's say they all equate to like an hour each,
Mhm.
right? 2 hours each. And then you could have a date with a guy where you end up spending an entire day together.
Yeah.
You spend the same amount of time, right? So how do you know when to do it? So the first thing I would say is that as a woman, it's really good to exercise what I call sexual progression.
Mhm.
So not that the first time you're physical, you have to do everything, right? I would never recommend sleep on the first date. There is only certain circumstances where that can be an advantage, but generally speaking, not really.
When can it be an advantage?
Because if you're dealing with a guy who is entertaining a lot of women, the truth is like a girl could be waiting, like, oh, I'm gonna wait till like the next month. But like we know that guys pursue sexual opportunity. So if there's another girl that comes along and he starts being physical with her, you might lose his attention.
So interesting.
So the only way it's a positive is that thing is when the first time when you start having sex with a guy, now you have the opportunity to add value to his life that's going to make him want to choose you.
Wow.
So, but in regards to when to be intimate, the question to ask yourself is, would I introduce him to my friends? So, for example, if one of your girlfriends had like a party this weekend, right? And she's like, oh yeah, you can bring a +1. We only bring people as a +1 who we know would be good brand ambassadors for us. Because if you bring someone, right, and they're like, oh, like, you know, they come and they're kind of drunk, they're like trashing the place, all of this stuff. Everyone's like, oh, whose friend is that? They're like, oh, that's Tegan's friend. Everybody judges you for the person that you brought.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
So ask yourself, do you know this guy well enough that he would be a good brand ambassador for you if you brought him as a +1? If the answer is yes, then you're good. The answer is no, it's too soon.
Okay, interesting. And do you think that will but it may be that it's fine for you. I guess the difficulty is there too soon? So for a guy, would that put a guy off if you want to invite them to meet your friends and things like that?
I'm not saying you have to invite him. That's when you know. I'm just saying, would you?
Yeah. Then you feel comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying like, if it's just more, if I was going to invite him, do I feel confident enough? Not that you're at the stage where you would invite him to meet your friends, but that you know him well enough that you would feel comfortable him being your brand ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he's going to represent you as your guest. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, like I said, you utilize sexual progression. So you don't have to go all the way the first time you're physical.
Yeah.
The first time you just share a kiss. And then in terms of the first date, and then maybe the second date, there's a kiss with a bit of, more passion, more touching, maybe tongue, sort of this stuff. And then maybe the third date, I don't know, like maybe you do, maybe you're just physical, you do a little, what they'll call heavy petting, right? And then after that, then you go the full way. Because for guys, it's like, and when you do it that way, what you'll notice is that his investment for you won't go down, it'll go up. Because right. Yeah. So like for example, if I'm playing Super Mario, right?
Oh my god,
if I'm playing Super Mario and I want to get to level 10, if I start at level 1, the next day I'm on level 2, level 3, level 4. I'm getting more excited to invest in the game because I'm progressing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I get the game and I get to level 10 on the first day, I'm like, I'm going to return it back because that's like, I didn't get the value for my money, right? Because I completed the game within the first day. So my effort towards the game is not going to be that much. Equally, if I'm playing it for a month and I haven't got past level 1, I'm just going to be like, this game's too hard or this game's not for me.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does. And do you think, so would a guy feel that the date's gone badly if you don't have a kiss on a first date?
He might,
Mhm.
because we live in a culture where people sleep together on the first date. So he might think, oh, well, if she doesn't want to be physical with me at all, she may not be that into me. But if you come across as that kind of woman who's like very reserved, so I had this really lovely, I say girl, woman on my podcast recently, gorgeous girl, she's Mexican, I think, and she's very traditional. So like she does not like kiss on the first date, whether she likes guy or not. Like she just is slow in the physical side.
Yeah.
But you can see she's that type of woman. So if a guy goes on a date with her and that doesn't happen, he's more likely to be like, oh, that's the type of woman she is, right? But if, for example, I'm not saying this would ever come up, but if, for example, you're on a date and you've shared about how, you know, you've had a fling before and, you know, you've done this and stuff, and then it comes to the end of the day and you don't even kiss the guy, he's going to be like, well, I know you do that with guys that you like, so clearly you just don't like me. That's what he's going to think.
Okay. Interesting. So I guess it depends then. Depends on the situation, depends on what you're kind of giving off.
It can depend, but I mean, if you don't kiss a guy on the first date, but you message him after, say like, hey, I had a really great time with you. Like, because ultimately what he'd be looking for is reassurance. You'll want reassurance. So if you don't end up kissing a guy on the first date, which you don't have to, right? But then you just message him, be like, hey, I had a really nice time tonight.
Okay.
And he's gonna be like, okay, cool. Like, it's not that she doesn't like me, because if she didn't, she wouldn't message me that. Maybe she's just taking it slower, and that's okay.
Makes sense. Okay, cool. And then a big question that we had was around dating profiles.
Oh yeah.
So we kind of spoke about this, I think it was the other week, but your, like, a guy's perspective, or your view, I guess, as an expert on how you set up the correct kind of dating profile.
As a woman?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say, if they don't have to be high quality photos, but use quality photos. I do not recommend the first photo being anything in a bikini or anything like that.
Okay, interesting. We did speak about this. So you think no go?
Not for the first photo, no, because because when he sees that, he's just gonna look at you and think sex.
Photo.
Yeah.
It's quite dependent on what.
It's okay if you have one, just not the first one.
What if you are a surfer, or you live in Bali or something like that?
Well, maybe that's a bit different. But if your first photo is like,
it's like your body's gonna be the first thing, and then you're kind of sexualized, right?
yeah, like if your first photo is like a bikini shot of you in Ibiza, he's gonna be party girl, fun. That's what he's gonna think. Also, no, most guys do not read your bio. They don't.
Really?
I'm sorry, they actually do read
I
mine,
feel
because
like-
I get replies to mine all the time, so I'm funny as hell.
So hold on. He will read your bio if he matches with you to have a good opener.
To be fair, I actually don't read bios, and I've caught myself out because it'll be something so cringy. It'll be like match with me if you've got a fat ass, and I won't have read it. I'll just be like, oh, fit, match, and I'm like, oh, I've got to unmatch now because I've just read that later on.
Yeah. So like, what I mean is, guys won't read your bio to decide whether to match with you. If a guy matches with you, it's because he finds you attractive. The one.
Interesting you say guys do that and not girls, though.
Well, you're just asking me about guys. So I'm just.
I just asked about guys, sorry.
I wasn't here.
If like girls can do that too, but from what I've heard from women is like they can think a guy's attractive, look at his bio, and then something puts her off him.
That's so true.
That's what I do. I was gonna say, because that's what we heard is the data is that guys swipe yes for a lot and then check what once they've read.
Yes.
Once it was landed, yeah. Yeah.
One thing I would say though is that don't refrain from putting anything that says like no hookups, no one night stands. If you're just looking for fun, swipe left. Do not put that. That doesn't help you.
Why?
The reason that doesn't help you is because, one, the guys who are just looking for casual fun, they've already swiped on you because they think you're attractive, right? So they've already swiped on you.
And they'll just say that they're not, like that they are looking for something.
And the second thing is that the guys who are looking for a genuine connection, all you saying like no hookups, no fun, no casual, if that's you, swipe left, all you're communicating to him is that I have scars and I'm not over it.
Oh, you're so smart.
Because you're saying that, oh, this has happened to me so much, I'm putting it in my bio. So he's going, so basically what the good guy who genuinely is open to genuine connection,
You're hurt and you're angry.
exactly, he's going to go, so basically what you're saying is I'm going to have to work harder to gain your trust because of damage another guy did. Why would I sign myself up to that?
Oh yeah,
Interesting.
So
Is that why you shouldn't talk about exes on your first date?
see, I love an ex chat. I will talk
Eggs.
about ex chat. I love an egg. How do you take your egg? No, I will talk about exes on the first date. Is that bad?
I don't think.
I think if anyone is volunteering to talk about their ex, I'd be like, this person's not over it.
Over it. Yeah,
No,
that's
but
what I was
I
thinking.
personally like to figure out what someone's dating history has been, because I think it says a lot about them. For example, have they cheated? Has their ex cheated? Have they been in long-term relationships? Why did it end? What was the terms? How do they talk about their ex? I think those show a lot of character in someone.
Yeah, so you asking about their ex is cool, but you volunteering to talk about your ex is not cool.
I do that all the time. It's so bad. But
Well, you immediately stop doing that. Don't do that. The other thing I was going to say is that, so if you've had that experience of just guys matching with guys who are just looking for something casual and stuff, and you want to say something, there's nothing wrong with saying it, but it's all about how you say it. So if you're like not looking for hookups, blah blah blah, all of this stuff, you're coming from a place of negative.
Yeah.
So true.
Turn it into a positive. So instead of saying like I'm not looking for a hookup, just be like looking for a great person that I can have a great connection with. P.S. I love pizza. Let's do that for our first meet.
Yeah, I'm positively, happily looking for not.
I'm positively happy not looking for a hookup.
I'm positively, happily not
Not looking for
scarred. I'm a
casual.
great person and I don't come with trauma. Let's just not sleep together. No, yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. That's what I was saying. Like, it's not that you can't communicate that message, but how you do it can really make a difference to the guy who's looking for a genuine person. Because he will just go, oh, like she has trauma. She has issues that she's not over.
There's this thing, I don't know if you've touched on this, because I know that we've spoken to people about it before. On the first date, if you talk about how you've negatively been treated before, apparently that's bad. You're supposed, even if you get to know a partner, apparently they are supposed to be like, oh, I got treated really well, da 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 da. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you're not supposed to go into, oh, okay, so my ex treated me like shit, I got
Say, no,
cheated
you've
on.
been treated
You're supposed to be like, no, my ex is actually a lovely people, I got treated really well.
I wouldn't say lie about it. Like if you've been through a bad experience, there's nothing wrong with sharing that. But then I think it's really important to be like, this is what I learned from it. Because if you're like, oh, like, you know, if you're like, and you would see this with a guy as well. If you're like, oh, like, you know, every guy that I've ever been with and stuff, like, they've just not treated me bad. Well, like, the common denominator is you. So he's going to be like, well, what's wrong with you?
You're the one. You're the problem.
Like, not that you're responsible for it, but why do you, like, I know it's not like you're responsible for how someone else behaves.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you keep choosing that kind of person? And when we, as human beings, right, when we keep choosing people who treat us poorly, it means we're choosing from a broken place. You're not choosing from a healthy place.
This is therapy.
This is therapy. I've got so many questions.
But I think, I was going to say with your question, I think that is for if you're meeting up with someone that's not a nice person, then they'll take advantage of you because they know I think that's why people are
I guess it's like a value thing as well. You want to show that you have been valued and you're worth that value, but I don't think being cheated on demeans that. But you know, it's supposed to just make the guy need to step up, I guess. Feel the need that, okay, this person's been treated well, I need to step up to that plate.
I don't think I understand the psychology and understanding of why you're saying that, but you going, well, this is how I've been treated in the past, this is really bad. is not going to make him suddenly go, okay, well, I'm going to step up to the plate in the way you want.
No, but it might make them think, oh, okay, she's stayed. She's been cheated on 5 times by an ex and she stayed. She's quite forgiving. If I did it, she'd forgive me too.
No, but this is why I said, this is where you say, this is what I learned from it. That what I learned from staying with somebody who cheats is that they don't change. And if I don't want to be with that kind of person, I've learned how to walk away.
Yeah. Oh, I'm mature. I love this. I'm just so mature now. I was like the Christman, like, listen.
Lucky, I usually charge thousands for this. You're getting it all for free.
So speak about, is there anything you wanted to ask?
Oh god.
I was just going to ask, how do you, maybe it's with the red flags and green flags, but how do you spot those that are just looking for hookups and not a long-term thing?
Like when you're dating them?
Yeah.
The biggest telltale sign is that he will not meet up with you where sex is off the table. So, for example, it's very common that when people start dating, once they start being intimate, all of their dates become Netflix and chill dates. You come to mine, we'll watch a film, have some food, and we'll sleep together. I come to yours, we'll watch a film, and we'll sleep together, right? Guys don't show their investment through their sexual time. They show their investment through their non-sexual time. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Which girl do you think this guy is taking more seriously? Which girl do you think this guy is taking more seriously? The girl who he spends a weekend with, they go for a walk, they read a book together, play some board games, but nothing intimate actually happens, right? But they have a nice time. Or the girl who goes around the house on Friday night, they sleep together, and then he leaves the following morning. Who's actually investing in?
So it is kind of doing more wholesome things, I guess. Perhaps.
Well, it's more about, so here's what I'd say, because there's nothing wrong with having a Netflix and chill date. But here's my guidance on this as the woman. You want to spend as much non-sexual time with him as you do sexual time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how a man actually invests. And non-sexual time doesn't count the dinner at his before you sleep together. That doesn't count. Non-sexual time is like, hey, let's go for lunch. You go for lunch and then you go your separate ways after because maybe you're going to go meet a friend.
Yeah. So
non-sexual time is like, let's go for a walk for like in Epping Forest for 2 hours. And then maybe you have to go meet some family, but you really want to see him. If a guy can invest time in you where sex is off the table, then he's actually taking you seriously. But if you try and meet up with him where like, you invite him to something, he's like, oh no, I can't make it. You try and have a plan with him where sex is off the table, but then you're like, hey, I'm doing this Friday night. I can see you after. He's like, he's all game for it. He's not taking you seriously.
Interesting. There you go. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry.
That's all right.
Lady J.
That's fine. Can you ask Sarah to come back in because then we can end it? I don't know if she's on the phone. Okay, don't worry. Cool. Sorry, Thea's basically been on the phone to and from for this cleaning person.
Oh yeah, that's okay, no problem.
Yeah, coming back in, but I appreciate because I know we were supposed to stop around now.
So I'm easy. I've got my next appointment at 3. So
okay, cool. Amazing, cool. I will ask you. I'm trying to think how we spoke about that. What does it really mean when I'm accessing this? I don't know my thoughts. Well, I guess we're speaking more about dating than relationships. So yeah. Yes, is there anything that you think would be important to cover? And then I'll wait when she comes back in. She's got like 1 question or 2 questions. Is there anything you wanted to go through?
I don't know. It depends what you want to know.
I've literally got like lists, so I'm just trying to quickly.
Yeah, throw it at me.
Yeah, how crucial is physical attraction to men in maintaining a long-term relationship?
Good question. It's important.
Really important.
It's when I say it's really important, not that you need to subscribe to this unrealistic beauty standard. That's not what I'm saying, because even generally when it comes to physical standards, men have much easier standards than women do, right? Like most men would sleep with most women.
Do you think that's true?
No, that is true. That is true.
What the hell?
But most women would not sleep with most men.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to physical standards, in terms of what a guy would be physically intimate with, right? It's much lower for guys. Guys will sleep with women that they don't even find attractive.
What?
Yeah.
What? How?
Well, because men are hardwired for sexual opportunity. So, like, if you take a guy and a woman just offers him sex on a plate, not saying every guy would,
Yeah.
but if you take the average guy and a woman offers him easy sexual access, 9 times out of 10 he will take it. Not because he actually likes her, but because it's sex for him. Like, why would he say no?
But is there a difference between like finds attractive and fancies?
Yes, there is. There is.
Yeah.
So, in regards back to the question of relationship, it's important that he fancies you. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Because like, I know, not for all women, but for a lot of women, if they meet a guy and they don't find him unattractive, but they don't find him like really attractive either, if he has other qualities, she can grow attraction to him. If he's funny, charismatic, ambitious, smart, intelligent,
Yeah.
other qualities that he can show and demonstrate, she'll go, oh, I'm really attracted to this guy because of, the kind of guy he is. Even though maybe physically I wasn't jumping at him, right? You can grow attraction through these things. Does not work the same for guys. If he does not find you attractive, it doesn't matter how amazing of a person you are, it will not be romantic for him.
But you're saying, so I still can't go over that you could find someone not attractive and still sleep with them.
So I'll tell you what it's like the equivalent of. It's like you as a woman getting attention from a guy that you don't find attractive. It's like, you'll take the attention because it's nice, it feels good. Yeah. But you don't find him attractive. It's the same thing. He'll take having sex with a girl because it feels good for a guy to have sex.
That's crazy.
So it's under, because one thing that I think a mistake a lot of women can make is they think guys date the same way they do, and they don't. So like 9 times out of 10, if a woman would be physically intimate with a guy, she's likely would be open to something serious if he's the right person.
Yeah.
Okay. When guys are just looking for sex, their standards are much lower. They're much lower. So like, I don't like to use these arbitrary numbers, right? But I'm just gonna say it to like make the point, right? When you rate people out of 10 in attractiveness, okay.
Yeah.
So a guy who's an 8, right? If he's an 8 out of 10 in terms of looks, he'll sleep with a girl who's a 6, but he would never commit to her. And so the struggle is for many women, they think, oh, well, if he would sleep with me, then he's open to a committed relationship because that's how I operate. That is not how men operate.
And do you think that a girl could change that, or that's just not really possible?
Change what?
Change their view. If you're a 6 out of 10, there's an 8 out of 10 guy, you've gone on dates, slept with them, can that be changed for them to want to have a committed relationship with you?
It's possible. So there's 2 ways this could change. One, he may be an 8 out of 10 in looks, but if he's dealt with a lot of attractive women who have just been very toxic, he's gonna be like, well, clearly choosing really attractive women, they don't have the personality I'm looking for, so he may be willing to compromise on that. Actually, generally, when a guy's looking for something serious, he's willing to compromise on looks, right? He still has to find her attractive, but he's willing to compromise on looks for something serious, for sure. Because the most attractive women aren't the ones necessarily in relationships, right? There aren't the ones who necessarily get the commitment, and because it's not all about looks. Or the other thing is that she has to level up in her looks.
Wow, savage.
Because here's the thing, like, do you know what I mean if I say women are hypergamous?
No.
So if women are hypergamous by nature, which means that you want a guy on your level or above.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And that's like, you want a guy at least. You want someone that if you own your own home, you want a guy who owns his own home, maybe 2. If you drive, you want a guy who drives, and whatever. If you earn a certain amount, you want a guy who at least earns your amount or at least your level or above, ideally.
Yeah.
So women are hypergamous. Women make across and up dominance hierarchies.
Isn't that an issue nowadays because they say women are more educated, and like you mentioned just earlier, that women are earning more than men.
Well, to fulfill that hypergamous desire, yes, it is. Like,
Yeah.
this is why most men actually struggle. The average guy gets zero attention, and women don't realize this.
Really?
Yeah. I'll come on to that. But what I was saying about the hypergamous thing, you know how you want a guy at least on your level, but ideally you want a guy higher than you. You want a guy you can look up to, right? Okay. Men are hypergamous when it comes to attractiveness.
Yeah.
They want a woman who's at least his level of attractiveness, if not more attractive than he is. And when we look at couples, especially successful couples or celebrities, both of their hypergamous desires are being fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So we take like Jonah Hill, right? Like, all the women, all his girlfriends, they've all been gorgeous.
Have they?
But they've not been, so they're more attractive than he is, but they've not been anywhere near as successful as he is. He's been the one who's more successful than her.
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying every relationship has to be like this, and this is what exactly everyone looks for all the time. But these are the things that are subconsciously at play in terms of who we find attractive and who we're drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in regards to, is it harder for women to date, if they level up themselves?
Yeah.
If you want a man who's on your level and or higher, and you are quite high, then the pool of men is going to be very small that you think are eligible for you.
Yeah.
So you have to compete to get that man if you want. Or if you can relax that standard, then you open your pool up and be like, oh, maybe I can actually still connect with somebody who's actually a really decent guy, even if maybe he's not my level. Now, depending on whether you want to do that as a woman, that's up to you, right? But that's the kind of dynamic.
Crazy. And it is harder then for women, I guess, to date.
It's not that it's harder. It's actually easier for women because women have a lot of options, but it's harder to get.
Yeah, so not to date, sorry, to get into a relationship or something more serious.
If it's with one of those top guys, yes, it's harder. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because you know how I said most guys don't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the Pareto principle?
No, I thought you said Dorito principle.
The Dorito principle. No, the Pareto principle. So what that means is that when you have a free market, naturally what happens is like a universal law that just happens.
Mm-hmm.
That 20% of mass is responsible for 80% of production. So what I mean is this: 20% of cities in the world hold 80% of the world's population. 20% of authors are responsible for 80% of books sold.
Mm-hmm.
20% of employees earn 80% of the company's revenue.
Yeah, okay.
20% of actors get 80% of the jobs. That's why we see the same actors in everything.
Makes sense, yeah.
So in dating, what you have, and it's actually probably it's less than 20%, but you have roughly less than 20% of men get 80% of women's attention.
Wow, yeah, I was going to say I did hear something around that those, like the creme de la creme, like have everything, whereas you've got guys on dating apps that just get nothing.
The majority of men get nothing.
Really?
Majority.
Yeah, I guess if it's 20%.
So let me ask you, right? Out of 50 random guys who might approach you, like slide into your DMs, maybe approach you in a bar or something, right, that you see on a dating app, out of 50 random guys, right, how many of them do you look at and go, I like the look and vibe of you enough that I'd go on a date with you?
Maybe 10%.
Like what? 4, 5, 7?
Yeah.
How many?
20% maybe.
Yeah, so what, 10? I'd say that's pretty generous,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So let's even say 10, right? Which when I usually ask this question for women, it's usually less than 5.
Mm.
The issue is the same 10 guys that you're going to date on are the same 10 guys Thea would go on a date on, are the same 10 guys Sam would go on a date on, are the same 10 guys who Josie would go on a date on. Now, there may be a little bit of crossover in terms of there's a couple of guys that you would choose that she wouldn't choose, a couple of guys she would choose that you wouldn't choose.
Right, yeah.
But there's a lot of overlap. And so what's happened in the dating market is you get a very small percentage of men dating the majority of the women.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why now I understand, because, and this is proof of it, the majority of the women are gaining their experience from that small percentage of guys. So when I tell you that most guys struggle, you're like, that makes no sense to me, because the guys that I go on a date with, so many girls want him. Yeah, but that's like a 1 in 50 guy. Or 1 in 20.
Yeah. So do most guys then have bad experiences with dating?
Yeah, most guys have experiences of matching with girls who never respond to them. Most guys have experiences of planning dates where the girls never show up. I mean, Thea literally just said she doesn't even show up. She was like, nah, I'm just going to bail, right? Most guys have the experience of like paying for a lavish date and a woman just is not interested. Most guys have an experience of trying to talk to women and it just never gets anywhere.
Why do guys still, if I just feel maybe this is a bit of a stereotype, but if I tried as hard as a girl as a guy does, I'd stop trying.
Well, many guys have stopped trying. That's why like there's so many women that are like, why is no guy coming to talk to me?
Yeah.
Why is no guy asking me out? Why is no guy trying to have a relationship with me? Because for a lot of guys, I'd probably say like, I don't want to say the bottom half, but the bottom half of the 80% of men, a lot of them have stopped trying. Now they're focused on video games. They're focused on anime. They're focused on drugs. They're focused on doing they're addicted to porn. A lot, like more and more men have stopped trying because they're like, well, I can't. Because the thing is, we live in a globalized dating market. So like back in the day, the girl from Norfolk, she would choose someone to settle down with from someone within her village of Norfolk. But now with the internet, technology in terms of travel, social media, now she can match with the hotshot lawyer from London, the producer from LA, the actor from France. So the guy in her class now, who's her age, doesn't look like as an attractive prospect.
That is true.
So then it's like, so most guys are like, well, if he's that guy, like, you know, he's gonna be like, I'm just gonna stop. Like, why would I try? For a lot of guys, and it's weird because a lot of the things that women find attractive, men get over time. So if you have like an average 22-year-old, right, or 21-year-old, like attractive girl, she's gonna be getting attention from like guys who are like up to the age of 40.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's like, okay, she could choose to go out with a guy who's maybe he's 30, who's got his own place, you know, got a good career, he can take her on holiday, you know, do this stuff. Or the guy who's just accrued a bunch of student debt, still lives at home, and the best he can do is take her to Nando's.
So true.
If she doesn't know either of them, she's not connected to any of them emotionally, who's she going to pick to give an opportunity to?
Yeah.
So the average guy's like, well, why should I even try?
I feel like then it sounds like girls need to put themselves out there a bit more.
Well, it's here's the thing, it's harder for both men and women, but the challenges for men and women are different.
Yeah.
So the hardest thing for guys is getting an opportunity with the kind of girl that he wants. The hardest thing for women is not getting an opportunity with guys, because you can use sex to get a guy's attention, but can you get his commitment?
Yeah.
And if you're dating the kind of guy who is desirable, that top 20 is probably more 15% now, right? Who's got a plethora of options, unless he's ready to settle down, what incentive is there for him to commit?
Yeah.
And now this is where I come in terms of the women I work with, is what makes him commit is by providing value to his life in ways that no other woman does. And that's how those women get the men they want.
Mr. Hitch.
And that's why I teach.
Do you have any last questions?
No, I'm all good.
All good?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. That rounded it up. I feel like we've gone through a bit of a roller coaster.
I did.
We have.
How do you feel?
I feel a bit emotional about that whole.
But yeah, this is so, like, you know, anyone watching, like, this is the work that I do, right? So I help women move and date in a way as a woman of value, so that when you come across that eligible guy, the guy who does maybe have a lot of options, because that's generally the guy that most women want, you know exactly how to get him. And then there's ways that when you know how to provide value to a man's life outside of the sex and intimacy, because like that doesn't, I'm just gonna be completely real, that's not adding value, right? Like spending time with a guy and just having sex with him, that's not adding value, because that's what every other woman does.
Yeah.
So why are you the person who goes, I want to build my life with this person, I want to take care of this woman, right? So when you know how to provide value to his life in ways outside of the sexual intimacy, right? That's when he goes, oh, I don't want to lose Tegan. And that's when you have the leverage to go like, I want this to be exclusive moving forward. And he's going to go,
What's that value?
he's going to go, yeah. He's going to be like,
I'm really awkward than any other girl. That's value. You never find one like me.
but yeah, that's that. And I'm just letting you know, this is how guys choose. Like, especially guys who are in that top 20%, you know, getting attention, the guys that most women want.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound very pretentious, but most of the guys are like my friends, my circles, and I see the girls that they take casually and the girls that they take seriously.
Yeah.
I hope you're giving them the same advice, honey.
No, don't. Just tell us.
Women hear the same advice.
These
Give the
girls.
boys the same advice. Say,
Well, for guys, most of the work guys have to do is upfront.
Yeah.
So like you know, when you meet a guy who's, and we'll wrap it up, but when you see a guy that you find desirable, is attractive, is confident, is successful, he didn't wake up that way.
Yeah. He said to
Like,
work for.
that is work that he's put in, like a lot of work.
Yeah.
For a guy, he can't just, here's the thing, he can't just be attractive. He has to be confident. He can't just be confident, he has to be competent.
I actually think the mid-level good-looking guys do better than the good-looking guys because their personality is so much better. The amount of like models and things that I've met and they're dry, like there's nothing to them. And it's always the mid guy, the Essex guys, how are you? Whatever. They always do the best, I swear.
So I know we're rounding it up, and I know you can't tell us everything, but what's like an example of a value that you think women could bring?
Like pottery painting or like.
Okay, so I give this up. This is something my ex did. Like, if I, it's like, for example, like when she would stay over, right? And if we had dinner and stuff, and maybe the plates were left out, when I woke up, all of it cleared, tidy, done. When I'd go to the gym, when I come back, protein shake, Medi, breakfast is made, done. Now we have like, I come from Nigeria.
Anyone can do acts of service though. I wouldn't class that as particularly special.
But here's the thing that I say to women: the things to add value is so easy and so simple, yet most don't do it. They don't do it. And I'm going to be honest, right? I'm going to be completely real with you. Because of the narrative we've grown up on, I understand there's like a level of you feel like it offends your feminism pride.
Yeah.
I'm like, why should I do this for her?
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. If a guy's going to come in and be the man in your life, where he might pay for most things, where he might protect you, where he's willing to die for you, he's bringing a lot to you.
Make him a protein shake.
Yeah, you should, girl.
I'd be willing to do that if someone was committed to me, but I don't want to do it for anyone just because I'm like, okay, if I'm doing these things and you're taking advantage, what's the point of me making a protein shake so that you can use that protein shake for someone else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do it for the guy that you want. That's how you get his commitment.
That's how we get it.
The dating, right, for guys and for girls, you are auditioning to be his husband or for him to be your wife.
All a play. It's all a play.
I mean,
No, play, but like you like, so like I'm in. I don't know if you know this, right? But I'm an actor, right?
Mm.
So, and I've worked like West End, TV, film. I can't go to an audition and be like, yeah, I'm only going to sing the song once you give me the role.
Yeah, then you'll see how great I am.
No, I have to show you I can do the role, right?
I can't.
That's my ability for you to give me the role.
Get it on delivery and pretend it was you.
If I cook, they're gone. I know that. If I clean, they're gone. I only realised recently you're not supposed to use washing up liquid to clean like everything. I've used it as multi-purpose for like glass, floors, showers. Didn't know you're not supposed to do that.
Maybe you do the cleaning.
No,
So
no.
here's
What do I bring?
here's what I say, Thea. It's not that you remember what I think. I don't know if you're in a conversation then. it's not that you shouldn't be generous in what you do. It's you should have a standard for doing these things. So you should be like, for example, it's like, okay, you're supposed to do these things for the man you want. That's what makes him choose you.
Yeah. You gotta put yourself
I don't
out
know,
there.
I know
guess.
people-
Because like for you to choose a guy, he has to do what you want, right? He
Yeah.
has to be what you want.
I do see your point, but also I do know friends that do like cleaning, washing, whatever for their boyfriends, and their boyfriends go out and cheat.
But his point is that that's how you've then ended up in a relationship. Doesn't mean that that's a good person.
Exactly.
True.
So
I
it's
mean,
about what we have to be careful to not doing. And every now and again, I'll coach guys, right? And usually, if they come to me, it's because they've had a lot of bad experiences with women, and so they're quite bitter about it. What we have to be careful not to do is we shouldn't, just because we give the right treatment to the wrong person, doesn't mean we should then give the wrong treatment to the right person.
yeah,
So true.
so true.
Well,
But
another
I just
deep
say-
thought, we're like,
I don't want to finish this, but I'm literally like, tell me more. But yeah, no, I love how we came with questions that girls want, and what we've ended with is nothing any girl has asked, and that we should be thinking about. Do you think that's crazy?
But and this
That value.
and here's the thing, right? Like, don't get me wrong. So many girls focus on the looks aspect, and I think, well, if I'm good looking enough, if I'm attractive enough, I'll get the guy that I want. And it's like, one, you're selling yourself short. You have way more value as a woman than just how you look,
Yeah,
and that is something you should be showing to the man that you want, only
Yeah.
to the man that you want.
yeah.
yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for
You're welcome.
everything. I feel like I'm a new person.
Hey, listen.
We'll see. I'll put this in practice and tell you if I find
Yeah.
it out in my life.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, thank you so much, Kit. That was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
That is it from the Eventful podcast this week. Thank you so much, Kit, for your time, and join us next time. Bye, guys!